Whether you even realize it, there's a battle raging just a few feet over your head. Right now. It's this silent, constant war against forces that are trying to get inside your home. And today, we're going to talk about the absolute front line of that war.
So, let me ask you, what's the one thing standing between your home and, say, 100-degree heat, or driving rain, or one of those crazy Texas-sized hailstorms? It's your first, and really your last, line of defense.
It's this unsung hero. Yep, your roof. It's so easy to just forget it's even up there, right? But it's working 24/7, day in and day out, shielding you from everything. A real unsung hero.
But here's the thing, being a hero comes at a price. That roof is under constant attack. So, okay, let's dive into this. A roof in a place like South Texas, well, it doesn't just sit there. It fights. It has to deal with 4 major enemies, each with its own nasty way of trying to get in. So let's meet the villains of our story.
All right, enemy number 1, searing heat. And I mean, this is the most relentless attacker of them all. We're not just talking about a warm, sunny day. On a dark roof in the middle of a South Texas summer, the surface can get to over 160 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, you could literally cook on it. So what does that kind of heat actually do? Well, it's not just about being hot to the touch. That insane temperature literally bakes the asphalt in your shingles. It just cooks it, breaking down its structure. It loosens these little protective granules. You can think of them like sunscreen for your roof. And once those are gone, the whole thing just ages way faster. It gets brittle and starts to crack. Okay, enemy number 2 arrives with a crash. We're talking about violent hail. You know how these storms can just pop up out of nowhere, right? And listen, it doesn't take some kind of softball-sized monster hail to cause serious damage. Even small hail causes something called bruising, which is a really sneaky but significant kind of damage.
So what the heck is bruising? Basically, the impact from the hailstone messes with the integrity of the shingle. It creates these little dents, these tiny cracks. And at first, you might not even notice them, but each one is a weak point. And over time, or with just one more bad storm, that bruise can become a hole punched right through the roof. And now you're totally exposed. All right, on to enemy number 3, high-speed wind. This one's invisible, but man, is it powerful. We're talking about storms that can drive winds over 70 miles per hour. And a force like that doesn't just, blow over your roof. It actively tries to tear it apart. And this is how it works. Wind is a master at finding the weak spots. It's almost like it has a special sense for that one shingle that wasn't installed perfectly. It gets right under the edge, lifts it up, and then, whoosh, it can tear it right off the deck. That exposes the underlayment, and now you have wind-driven rain hitting a layer that was never meant to be the first line of defense. And that's how you get a major leak. Okay, our 4th and final enemy is a little weird. It's a total curveball. It doesn't come from the sky like the others. Nope, this one comes from the very ground your house is built on. I'm talking about unstable soil. So check this out. In a lot of places, you have this expansive clay soil, right? And what it does is it swells up when it's wet and shrinks when it's dry. This constant, subtle shifting in your foundation creates stress. And that stress doesn't just stay in the basement. It travels all the way up the frame of your house right into the roof. The whole structure can twist, just enough to open up these tiny little gaps at the seams, which are, of course, the perfect hidden doorway for rain and pests. So yeah, the ground itself is in on the attack.
Okay, so you've got these 4 great enemies just constantly going after your roof. How in the world are you supposed to know if it's, losing the battle? Well, the good news is a roof under stress leaves clues. You just have to know what to look for.
So here's what you should keep an eye out for. You see a bunch of what looks like black sand in your gutters? Those are the protective granules we were talking about earlier. That's a huge sign of aging. Or maybe you notice shingles that are curling up at the edges, or they look like they have blisters. And of course, the obvious one, water stains on your ceiling. That's a dead giveaway. Oh, and if you can actually see a sag or a droop in the roof deck, that's a big, big problem.
All right, enough of the scary stuff. Let's talk about how we fight back. How do you build a roof that's actually equipped to win this war? It all comes down to strategy and having the right one from the get-go. Really, it's a 3-step process, but every step is critical. You've got to start with a really thorough inspection and assessment. You have to know what you're up against. Then, and this is the big one, professional installation. Every single piece has to be put in place exactly right. And finally, you wrap it up with a final walkthrough and a solid warranty. That's how you know it's ready.
Let's zoom in on one of these components, one that almost nobody ever thinks about. It's called flashing. You've seen it. It's that metal stuff where the roof meets a chimney or a vent. That little piece of metal is absolutely critical for directing water away from those joints. And get this, a huge, huge percentage of roof leaks are because the flashing was done wrong. It's a tiny detail that has a massive impact.
Of course, a huge part of the strategy is choosing your armor, right? You've got two main choices. There are asphalt shingles. They're popular, they're affordable, but that intense heat we talked about, it really beats them up and shortens their lifespan. Then you have metal roofing. Now, it's a bigger investment up front for sure, but it has way better resistance to wind and hail, and it lasts a whole lot longer. It's that classic trade-off, what you pay now versus what you'll get in the long run.
Sooner or later, the time comes when you've got to make the call. Maybe your roof is just showing its age, or a big storm just rolled through, and you're standing there, looking up, trying to figure out what to do next.
And this really is the big question for any homeowner, isn't it? When the time comes, do you repair it or do you replace it? So how do you make that call? Well, you can pretty much boil it down to three things. First, how old is the roof? If it's less than, say, 15 years old and the damage is just a small, isolated spot, a repair probably makes a ton of sense. But if that roof is getting on in years and you're seeing problems all over the place, like those granules are gone from everywhere, then a full replacement is probably the smarter investment. You don't want to just keep patching a roof that's at the end of its life. That's just throwing good money after bad. So let's bring it all back. That unsung hero over your head is in a battle every single day. Right now, it's fighting for you. It's taking on the heat, the hail, the wind, even the ground itself. So the only question left for you is it actually equipped to win?